Every day in Canada, about 2 million kids take a school bus, most with no seatbelts. And for decades, Transport Canada has been saying it's for the best, that seatbelts can do more harm than good. But now the Fifth Estate uncovered a study that shows seatbelts on school buses could prevent injuries and deaths, and that Transport Canada has had that study for 8 years and done nothing. Here's Bob McEwen with that investigation.
For 40 years, Transport Canada has told Canadians school bus seatbelts simply aren't necessary, which seems to defy common sense, even to the kids.
If you get into an accident, you would stay in your spot because a seatbelt makes you safe.
Actually, a minute ago, I almost fell off the seat. That just influenced my decision even more.
So how is it that to this day, children in school buses in Canada are still unprotected by seatbelts?
Final checks. Cameras loaded, dummies in position.
It all goes back to this, a Transport Canada crash test in 1984. Documented by the National Film Board, it had a surprise ending. The claim that school buses can keep children safe in accidents, even without seatbelts.
The high-back padded seats absorb the energy of the impact.
What's more, it said wearing a lap belt could create a whiplash effect that might actually be dangerous to kids in a head-on collision.
Could be enough to be fatal or result in serious injury.
Across North America, school boards largely rejected seatbelts because of that study. But school bus casualties kept climbing. At least 24 deaths in Canada since, over 100 dead in the U.S., and school bus injuries in both countries of more than 140,000. Yet Transport Canada's message always remained the same. Seatbelts won't help, and they might hurt. But now an investigation by the Fifth Estate has revealed serious problems with those Canadian crash tests and what they had to say about seatbelts in school buses. And we've also uncovered another Transport Canada study from 2010, which was not made public for 8 years until we recently asked to see it. That report found that school buses without seatbelts failed safety tests and didn't do enough to deter serious injury. In other words, it contradicted what Transport Canada itself had been telling us for years. Suzanne Tilco led that 2010 study.
What was the conclusion?
Well, the conclusion was with the seatbelts, that the seatbelts do prevent ejection.
But Transport Canada's website still insists there's no evidence school bus seatbelts would prevent injuries and save lives.
I've looked for these results on the website, and are they there? I haven't been able to find them.
I don't believe so. No, they're not there.
Then Canada's top vehicle researcher told us something no one at Transport Canada has publicly admitted before.
Bringing in the seatbelts is a good first step.
You are saying that, in your eyes, seatbelts in school buses should be done, should be undertaken?
It's a good first step. The seatbelt is your number one defense, so the seatbelts is a great first step. Totally agree.
Good morning.
But what's the second step? Given that there's now an admission that seatbelts prevent injury and perhaps save lives, Canadian parents and kids might well ask, what is Transport Canada going to do about that?
And Bob joins us now. So Bob, help me understand. Transport Canada has been effectively sitting on this for 8 years now.
Yep.
Why are they only now coming around?
Yeah, specifically because we took it to them. It's their study, and we had really effectively to tell them about it. They didn't want this to happen. They didn't bring it out of their own volition. These are the people who are our federal vehicle safety regulators. They're responsible for vehicle safety for all Canadians. And I think clearly it is not unreasonable to expect that they will not hide or suppress or otherwise ignore information that will improve vehicle safety, like seatbelts in school buses.
And so what would be the opposition to it then? To act on this study?
Well, they have been aligned over the years with what they call their stakeholders: school bus manufacturers, school boards, drivers' unions, people who have a financial or other stake. Legal liability is one issue. So they have been on that side. But again, it seems totally unreasonable to go so far as to hide your own research to bend over backwards for them.
So what would it take at this point for them to say require seatbelts?
All Transport Canada has to do is essentially forge a regulation in Canada that says every new school bus must have the installation of three-point belts. They did the same thing with coach buses after the Humboldt crash.
Right.
Now, the catch is that they can legislate installation, but not usage. The provinces and the territories have to have a regulation or some form of law that would make these something that had to be done. It's very contentious as to liability issues and whose responsibility will be. But look, the bottom line is we all know now, and Transport Canada certainly knows, that seatbelts in school buses prevent injury and save lives.
Fascinating work. Bob McEwen, one of the hosts of The Fifth Estate. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Andrew.
And if you want to see the full investigation, of course you do, it'll be posted on our website. Just head over to cbc.ca/fifth.